Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we will be covering the strangest train stations across Victoria's V-Line network, including all stations not served by metropolitan trains. So, without further ado, let's get into it. The first station here is Arda. Despite being located only 14 kilometers from Melbourne CBD and located in an area that is quite definitively the middle suburbs, this station does not see any suburban trains. Despite its track being used by both Geelong and Ballarat trains, only Ballarat trains actually stop here, with Geelong services absolutely flying past at 160 kilometers per hour. This gives the station an absolutely abysmal service of one train per hour, which gives it incredibly low ridership. When I arrived here, only one other person got off. This makes a lot of sense given how there are buses just outside the station departing towards Sunshine every 15 minutes. There's a station further up called Deer Park, which Geelong trains do stop at, giving it a much better frequency of roughly every 25 minutes. The station itself is an island platform with incredibly little else. There's a shelter with some seating, and a timetable and Mikey machine. The rail corridor here is surrounded by a brown fence on both sides, blocking any view of the station from the street. The only way to get to the platform is across this pedestrian crossing. It's pretty much the most basic a station can be, and is very insufficient for the area. There is a plan to electrify the line as far as Melton. However, this has been put on hold, and it's unlikely we'll see it within the next 10 years. Arda is one of the few stations I would consider almost entirely obsolete. There's almost no reason to plan your day around the train when it's just so easy to go and catch the next bus. Next is Ballan. This is a station on the Ballarat line. It was upgraded as part of Ballarat line duplication works in 2019, giving it a second platform. This was done without any alterations to the original platform, putting the station in a weird situation where it has one old platform and one new one. The day I was there, the new platform wasn't even being used, with all trains still using the old platform. This could just be a weekend thing, but regardless, it was strange to see this newly built infrastructure not being used. The old side has a heritage station building with a ticket window, waiting area, and bathrooms. The station also has a small bus bay and parking area, and a giant water tower here for some reason. To get across platforms, you must take this overpass to the other side. You can take the stairs, a ramp, or the lift. Here you can find the new platform, which today had no trains departing. There's an entrance to the station here too, on the small and little used Walsh Street, which understandably has a pretty empty car park, as opposed to the one on the other side of the station. Overall, Ballan's new and old platforms create a very interesting image, and it goes a long way to make this station feel unique. If you thought Williams Landing from my last video was bad, you should see Caroline Springs. This station is surrounded by kilometers of absolutely nothing. Despite being located on the outskirts of Melbourne, looking to the south makes you feel as though you're in the middle of the desert. This station was built in 2017, and so despite seeing the same number of trains as Arda, this station is much more modern with lots of shelter and seating, as well as a staffed ticket window. Despite being named Caroline Springs, the station is nowhere near the main activity center for the suburb. In fact, it isn't even in Caroline Springs, instead being located in the suburb of Ravenhall, a suburb packed full of factories and industry, some of which are visible in the distance from the station. Of course, the only way to get to the station is by driving there. There is a small footpath, but in an area like this, you already know no one's using it. To enter and exit, there's an underpass that takes you directly outside a massive car park. Of course, on a day like this, it's mostly empty. There's also a small bus interchange for the 2 bus routes that run here, only one of which actually operates on weekends. I also found this strange kiosk window. Not sure what this is for, especially considering this is a station with hourly frequencies. Caroline Springs just feels a bit sad, really. At least Williams Landing was still a busy station. Here it just felt incredibly empty the entire time. I guess this is what happens when you build a station so far from where people actually want to go, and then have it only be accessible by car. Malmesbury Station is located on the Bendigo Line. It's the biggest victim of the 2006 Bendigo Line singling project, commonly regarded as one of the stupidest transport projects in Victoria's history. This involved turning half of the line into single track, with the reason given being for better clearance past heritage structures, the same heritage structures that had been carrying trains successfully for over 140 years. You can clearly see the results of this here at Malmesbury, where there is clearly room for a second track under this bridge. When choosing which platform to make into the main one, they chose the one without a station building, turning Malmesbury into what is basically a half-abandoned station. There's a sign here claiming these buildings are private residence, which I really don't think anyone is living here. The entire building is surrounded by fences blocking you from getting past. The platform itself is overgrown and seems to contain some seating dating back to 2006. Outside the building is a gravel parking lot with a connection onto Dalesford Road, as well as a small path leading to Campbell Street. The in-use platform is pretty basic, with a small amount of shelter and is generally typical of a V-Line station. Just across from here, you can clearly see the old abandoned building. This was given out to a private owner, and there's a sign with a phone number and email address for inquiries, presumably used by the person who owns it. I decided to send an email asking whether there are any plans to restore the building, but got no response. It's unclear if the Bendigo line will ever be reduplicated, and if Malmesbury Station will ever be restored to its former glory. But for now, we just have to deal with a station that's a shell of its former self. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching to the end, and as always, huge thank you to my channel members for supporting what I do. I'll see you in the next one.